Breathing in, follow breath in. Breathing out, follow breath out. Your mind will not shut off. It will not go blank. You will not stop thinking. Just holding attention, focus on the breath. Letting go of expectations. Letting go of judgments from your practice. Just sitting, breathing. learning to be comfortable in stillness, in quiet, wanting nothing but to sit and breathe. And with the body still, rested, and the speech quiet, aware of all sounds, and the mind learning to settle. Know what it's like to just sit and breathe, knowing with each breath there's nothing else to do, nowhere else to go, and no one else to be. Everything beautiful, exactly as it is. Sitting, breathing. And once again, taking 3 deep breaths slowly. And as you slowly open the eyes, slowly beginning to move, and most important, with the practice of meditation, is to recognize how you feel now, immediately after, compare this to how you typically feel throughout your day. Recognize the difference, if there is one. Ask yourselves how you'd prefer to feel every day for the rest of your life. And realize however you feel now, if it's quiet, calm, and still, or a busy mind, racing mind, whatever you're sitting with at this moment, it's not from anything I said. It's not from how you sit and hold the hands or cross the legs. It's not from the sounds around us or anything else for that matter. It has everything to do with your own mind and your own mind's reaction to an external condition. This is what the Buddha called pratitya samuppada, means dependent origination. This is the essence of the Buddhist awakening. What we see is things happen every day, and we react. More stuff happens, more reactions. That's it. This practice is simply recognizing how we respond to things that are going on around us. Most people respond to meditation quietly, peacefully, still. But if you look at how you responded to the last 20 minutes and compare that to how you typically respond to other 20-minute periods of your day, it's usually quite a big difference. Even while sitting here, everybody had thoughts. If you went into some deep, dark, quiet place, it wasn't because you were in some deep state of samadhi. It probably means because you were asleep. And nothing against sleeping. Sleeping is good. But our mind wanders. And as we sit here silently together for 20 minutes, your mind will go all over the place. Some pleasant thoughts, some unpleasant thoughts, and some neutral thoughts, as the Buddha called it. Pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. But for the last 20 minutes, while you sat with pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral thoughts, you did nothing. You just sat. And what this teaches us is it's possible to have thoughts, emotions, and sit with them. Pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. That's your day. Now, throughout your day, when you have thoughts and emotions, do you just sit with them for a few minutes? Or do you immediately respond to let everyone in the world know how you feel about every situation? And of course, how you're right. I mean, that goes without saying. Meditation is free. Buddhist practice is free. It's just sitting, breathing, and becoming aware of what we think, what we say, and what we do in each moment. This is what the Buddha called karma. Karma literally means action. Karma is not what goes around comes around. Karma is not getting what you deserve or people are going to get what they deserve. Karma is not about getting. It's about giving. And the Buddha taught we generate karma 3 ways: body, speech, mind. What we think, what we say, and what we do. So this practice is becoming aware and recognizing what are our thoughts, what are our words, and what are our actions. And how do we put that into our lives? So much of our time is spent focused on the actions of others. Hoping they do this, hoping they do that, wishing they would do this, wishing they would do that. And I'm not suggesting the actions of others are not important or that we should sit in our relative places of privilege and ignore them. The actions of others are incredibly important. But this practice is not about the actions of others. It's about how we are responding and how we are acting. And when we come from a place of greed and anger and ignorance, that's what we bring into the world. And if you think there's enough greed, anger, and ignorance in the world, then why bring more? We overcome greed with the practice of generosity. We overcome anger with the practice of compassion. We overcome ignorance with the practice of wisdom. That's all this practice is. It is the cultivation within oneself of generosity, compassion, and wisdom. And coming from that place. And like I said, I am not ignoring what happens in the world, never have, never will. But this practice isn't about what other people are doing. Buddhist practice does not fix people. It helps you work on yourself. And coming back to that mirror, which I use that example a lot, it is looking in the mirror and saying, am I coming from loving kindness and compassion? Or am I coming from hatred and anger? That's what this practice is asking us to do. And that's really difficult. But that's the practice. This practice is not easy. As they say, it's not for everyone. Because it's a lot easier to just be angry and miserable all day long. Anyone in here spent much of their lives that way? That way is no fun. So this practice is, how do we cultivate loving kindness and compassion within ourselves so we go into the world and stop thinking that we are correct? Very difficult. Anyone in here think your views of the world are right? Must be nice to always be right, you know? For me, that was the biggest lesson in this practice. Learning that, wow, Jeff, you're not always right. That took a long time to wake up to. And even then, I fought that. And realizing that you're not right doesn't make other people right. I just want to clarify that. It's about understanding that everybody has their views and perceptions of reality, and everybody will take their own actions. And it is having the wisdom to open your heart and mind to try to listen, to try to understand where everybody is coming from. Which doesn't mean you have to agree. It doesn't mean you have to like it. It doesn't mean it's good. But if our hearts and minds are so close to where we just know exactly what everyone should do at all times, you are going to suffer a lot. That is my understanding of Buddhist teachings. And again, Buddhist teachings does not solve things. It's here to help us wake up to our suffering. That's it, just yours. And if you are suffering, the Buddha called this dukkha, the first noble truth, discomfort, angst, dissatisfaction. If you are experiencing these things in your life, discomfort, angst, suffering, dissatisfaction on a heavy traumatic level or small little things, food the wrong way, coffee the wrong way, traffic's too slow. If you are experiencing any of these things in your life, that's what this teaching will help you understand, why you are suffering. That's all. And again, for many people, that's not enough. Because often people say, well, yeah, but that's fine, but what about what everyone else is doing? That's not this practice. And I continue to remind people of that over and over and over again. And always will, because that's how I see the practice. So with that, I'll pause. For me, I always refer to respond to questions, meditation, Buddhist practice. Again, to those who are joining virtually, welcome. Thanks for coming back. We lost connection there, so glad you're here. If you have any questions, you can put them in the chat box. Say hello. I'll do my best to respond. We'll use the rest of our brief time this morning for questions. Yeah.
Because what you were talking about views, I know often my views are wrong, or this would be are wrong, and ideally you would want to have no views and just be with reality as it is. That's kind of a big jump. And Eightfold talks about right views, so how would I go to my views that are wrong to right views? Would you talk a bit about right views? Because I'm still not, I'm having a hard time grasping.
Sure. Yeah. So to sum up, to put into context this idea of right view, for those virtually maybe didn't hear it, it's this idea of, you know, it's taken you a couple of years to understand that your views aren't correct. They're just your views. So, you know, pat on the back, props. How long did that take you?
My whole life.
Your whole life. Well, you finally got there, right? So it's, it's taken you 31 years and you're finally there, right? So this idea of recognizing, hey, my views aren't correct. And I also want to, and yes, the teaching, which I know you've heard me talk about a lot, to put that, let me go there first, this idea of Thich Nhat Hanh's teachings of all views are wrong. I also want to caution there, because while it is helpful to understand that our views are not correct, I want to caution us to think that everything we think is wrong, because that's going to be a really hard thing to kind of work with, just thinking that you're always wrong. For me, and I know I have said that, like roaming around realizing my views are wrong, but I think a balance there is just a kind of add-on, is to help remember that the views, which is ultimately what it's about, is not about being right or wrong. Again, when I hear Thich Nhat Hanh say all views are wrong, what I'm hearing from that is that our views are just ours. And it's not about them being right or wrong. It's about they're ours. And everybody else has theirs, which is in essence kind of where you're coming from with this question of understanding that sounds nice, really difficult ultimately to get to. And to add to what you said, just to expand on a little more for anyone who's new, as you said, reality is reality. Regardless of what your views are of a situation, it does not change the situation. Regardless of your views of a situation, it does not change the situation. Everybody could look at the exact same thing a million different times and have a million different views. This is reality. There is the reality of things that happen and then our perception. And to me, that's what Thich Nhat Hanh is really getting at, right? So to your question around the right view, this comes from the Eightfold Path, which is the Four Noble Truths. It begins with the Four Noble Truths. So the first one, as I mentioned, life is suffering. Discomfort, angst, dissatisfaction. We all suffer throughout our lives. Some with heavy trauma, current, past, future, etc., and some with little things. Like I said, you don't like your coffee, your food was prepared the wrong way, whatever. You don't like the way the shirt looks on you today, whatever it is, right? Things that are not the end of the world, but we experience these things every day. The second thing is the cause, as I already mentioned. We suffer because of our craving and desire and greed. We always want more. We don't like how things are. We're always trying to get something better. We're angry at how things are, and we're ignoring reality. So we practice generosity, compassion, and wisdom. As I said, that's the second noble truth. The third is the ending of suffering. This is liberation, nirvana, freedom from suffering, right? And the fourth is, or as I say, having a good day. Okay? The fourth is the path. And this is the Eightfold Path. And this teachings of the Eightfold Path is starting with correct views, which is the nature of your question, thoughts, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, and concentration. All of that's on Google for free. It's really straightforward. It's pretty direct. But that is the path. That's it, right? And so when often people say, well, how do I practice this? Look at the Eightfold Path. He put 8 steps. And it starts with correct view, right? So often I say the first view about the first teaching with correct view is to understand that your views are not correct. But what I'm hearing you say is you're kind of already there. Yeah? You understand your views are just your views? Okay. So what's your question?
But how do you, like, it's the concept of right view, so what's...
Are you caught up on the word right versus wrong?
Maybe that means one would be better than the one.
Correct. So semantics will ruin this, because my suggestion is to drop, even though like we use the word right, you'll hear right view, correct view. That makes it sound as if there's incorrect or wrong. Another word or phrase you'll hear is wholesome view versus unwholesome view. Let me ask you this. You've already said you understand that your views are just yours and you're not always right, or you know that they're just your views. Do you have the view that everyone in the world suffers just like you do? Do you have the view that everybody's going through their own trauma and experiences and crazy life?
Yeah.
Do you have the view that the world is not all about you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Tough one, but yeah.
Okay. It's a tough one. Always appreciate the honesty, right? So you got the honesty. I mean, you're like halfway there. Correct view is the hardest one, because it's so hard for us to get to the place of dropping the story we've told ourselves our whole lives about how we're right and everybody else is wrong. So from this view, to me, it sounds like at a very basic level, you're there. Then after that is view, thoughts, speech, and action. Think good thoughts, speak good words, do good deeds. It all starts with the view, right? Think good thoughts, speak good words, do good deeds. Put that on a t-shirt or something like that. You're good, right? That's it. So with that view of understanding that you're not always right, that everybody else has their opinion, the whole world is suffering, then you can think good thoughts, speak good words, and do good deeds because you understand that how is anybody any different than you are? Yeah, you're good. Piece of cake. It only took you your whole life, see? And now you're here. What else? Yeah.
I don't know if it's a dumb question.
No dumb questions.
Well, let's see. So last week, you were saying at the end that they need someone to do like a meditation on a Friday or a Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
And all week I've been like in my head, like scared to email you and all this.
Huh.
I'm super anxious about even like asking. I know you said it's only being silent and hitting the bowl 3 times and opening the code and all that.
Yeah.
I'm just like so anxious. I know I've been here forever and all
Yeah.
this. But I thought maybe if I asked right now, some of all these people, like,
Right? Yay!
And I thought like
Yeah.
Friday might have, or Thursday, whichever day, might have like less people. So let me try and ask and like see what you.
Yeah. I'm so proud of you. And you have been around kind of forever, you know? You know, all the years, one person, and this isn't meant to make all the other people who do so much stuff feel guilty, because it's not about that. But in all these years, one person has said, hey, Jeff, can we take the Zafu cushions home and wash them? And that was Laura like 13 years ago. I mean, they've been washed since then. I'm just saying, you know. So to answer your question, yes, we tried, as Paula reminded me, Paula, you know, I made the mistake and said Friday, but it is actually Thursday. Paula thought we were giving away her job, so your job is safe, right? Wayne, you lead a meditation here. Paula leads a meditation. Carol's done it. Who else here has done silent meditations morning or noontime? David, close enough because Dan does it, right? Can you do this? Yeah? Yeah. I know you're kind of nervous, but can you push 4 buttons on the door? Yeah. You're hired. It is Thursday at noon. Yeah. We will train you how to open the door. You will have tons of support from like the 3 people that are here when you do it. And that's a big crowd. And most days, I mean, at noon, like I said, truly, there could be just you, or maybe there's 5 people. This place is wonderful when it's silent and empty. No offense to everybody who's here now, it's great. But when this place is empty, it's great. So yes, you are officially hired Thursdays at noon. Yeah. Paula, can you interview her also? Yeah? All right. Thanks, Laura. Definitely not a dumb question. That's my favorite question of all time. What else? Yeah, Matt.
As you know, I'm going to have this major operation.
Yeah.
On my brain, and I'm curious what you feel like, what your views are on the healing powers of meditation. I'm scared to death, but
Yeah.
I'm committed.
Yeah.
To do the best that I can, and I'm curious to just help me do those other things: the reading, the guitar playing,
Mm-hmm.
the cognitive exercises,
Mm-hmm.
or is there something else about it?
Yeah, man. I mean, I wish I could tell you that like meditation, to use your words, has some healing power for your brain. Meditation doesn't heal you. But what I will say is it will help you with everything else you just described. Your panic, your fear, rightfully so, your anxiety, everything you're feeling and experiencing, you know, with the procedure coming up, any procedure, especially, you know, brain surgery, it will help with that. It will help with calming the nerves a tiny bit. I mean, if you're like, you know, on a scale of 1 to 10, a 72, right? As far as anxiety and fear, it'll bring you back down to maybe like, I don't know, 58 on a scale of 1 to 10, right? So, but I'm not, and you know me, dude. I mean, I'm just not a fan of like telling people that like, yes, you know, there's some healing powers to meditation that are going to fix your brain. You know, a neurosurgeon is going to do that.
Sure.
That's it. your faith and trust is there. That's it. And there is no fear that needs to arise, because just processing whether I'm actually going to go through with saying this or not, right? If things work out well, what do you got to worry about? Right? If things don't work out well, what do you got to worry about?
It's what it is.
It is what it is. I never thought I'd use that example referring to somebody's brain surgery, but I'm just being honest with you. I heard that years ago, and I thought it was one of the most beautiful teachings, that the things that we worry about, if they can be fixed and work out well and solved, then there's nothing to worry about. And if there's nothing we can do about it, there's nothing to worry about. Either way, it's out of your control. And in essence, what you're doing, whether it's brain surgery or for anyone else in here tries to control everything in your life. Anyone here try to control things? Right? A couple others, and the rest are lying. Yeah. So we try to control everything, I mean, if you go, I keep talking about lattes, but if you go to make a latte and they put almond milk instead of oat milk, and you're furious because you can't control the way the milk is, right? And you're talking about brain surgery. What's that? Oat milk is good. Thank you for clarifying that. Yes. Right? You got nothing to worry about. Use the meditation practice to keep you calm and sane before. And that, I mean, even as you're going into the operation, I've heard many people share these stories, And again, I'm just not some new age guru guy that's going to tell you to meditate through your brain surgery, that you're going to be healed and all. Like, as you're starting your procedures, before you get all the stuff that's going to knock you out, use it to keep you calm. And then the medicine's going to take over, and then you're going to be in all kinds of other places, and if you can meditate there, then rock on. But I don't know what that's going to be like for you, and we'll be there rooting for you and cheering for you when you come out, and you'll be laughing and smiley and good to go. Yeah. Yeah.
Hi. I'm in active recovery from addiction, and but it's been a while. But I'm finding that I have to continue to work through it.
Yeah.
And do some soul searching and be honest and do inventory and all that. And my last assignment for my sponsor was to make a list of all the things that I'm powerless over. And then I added another list next to it of what in relation to that do I have the power over?
Yeah.
And it was, I've done this before, but for some reason this time it was so liberating because it just reminded me how powerless I am over people, places, and things.
Yeah.
But then it reinforced that I have power over. Like I even wrote down, I'm powerless over my first thought or my first feeling in reaction to something.
Mm-hmm.
But then what do I do with that? A lot of it for me is like I need to pause because
Yeah.
I'm trying to break ingrained behaviors.
Sure.
And so I guess what I'm just sharing is that at first it seemed like oh, I have no power, like.
Mm-hmm.
But really it shifts my perspective to what I do have power over.
Yeah.
And I don't waste my time and I have power over how I had someone who once said to me, have a great day unless you have other plans. And that hit me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wait, I have agency over this.
Sure. Yeah.
So it's actually very powerful to see your powerlessness.
Yeah. Yeah. And I want to be, I'll just say this first with whatever I say after, very careful about talking about like being powerless as if it's a good thing. And, and I'm not, again, for those who may be here for the first time and don't know me, always keep yourself safe, healthy. If you're in, dangerous, toxic relationships, whatever it might be, there's no Buddhist practice that says just become a doormat and like let people treat you as, whatever. Like, no, you want to always be safe and careful. And sometimes this word power can really protect us. But yes, to the nature that I'm hearing you talk about it, it is very liberating when you can, because the other word that I think gets assigned to power a lot is control. And so I think often we say, I have power over something. Very often people use that in a way that means they have control over something. And that control is very often an illusion. And for me, having this kind of powerlessness and abandoning control is in and of itself, I'm just kind of echoing what you said, to me, very liberating. Because for many people who spend their entire lives trying to control everything, it's exhausting, you know? And I mean, I know that intimately. What's that?
And futile. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. It only plays into some story in your head that you think it's worked, just because it's met your idea of what your control was attempting to do. We don't have enough time to get into all that right now, you know? But for me, Buddhist practice, and kind of coming back to the part of what you said with meditation, and also, Matt, to your question, is that reprogramming the brain, rewiring the habitual patterns and behaviors. Meditation absolutely helps with that. It takes, I mean, you know, I'm not big into the science stuff, but there's tons of research on how meditation affects the gray matter of the brain, you know, sympathetic, parasympathetic nervous system, all that kind of stuff, right? So for those of you who are into all that, the research is there about how meditation does change the brain. But it really, all the research in the world doesn't do you any good if you don't do it. So if you want to change that kind of, that split gap, that split second gap, what you're talking about is thought arises. From that thought, there's an emotion. From that emotion, we act on that. Now, if we want to kind of create space there, that's what meditation practice is for. Because as I alluded to earlier, when we sit in meditation, thoughts arise, right? Breath in, breath out, thought arises. My example I've given 1,000 times. I'll give it again. Breath in, breath out, thought arises. Let it go. Breath in, breath out. Thought is hunger. Recognize hunger. Let it go. Breath in, breath out. Next thought, hunger. Let it go. Back to breath. That's what I'm working on. What I don't want to do, thought arises, hunger. I'm hungry. I want a burrito. I'm going to go to Pokies. I want chips. I want sauce. I want cheese. And so from one single thought, I'm sitting there for 5 minutes thinking about a burrito. And I'm probably hungrier now than I was 5 minutes ago. This is what we do all day long with our thoughts. And learning to create space to where we don't have to act on every single thought. Anyone in here done something just really dumb, really harmful, really painful, right, to yourself or others? Well, that all started with one thought, right? I'll never forget, a guy in prison years ago said, if I hadn't acted on that one thought, this was after meditation. He said, if I'd learned this 20 years ago and I hadn't acted on that one thought, I wouldn't have been sitting in this cell for 20 years. Everything we do comes from a thought. And if we slow our mind down and we train ourselves to actually pay attention to our thoughts, it creates space where we can say, oh, there's a thought. What am I going to do with that thought? And for me, this practice, I mean, as often I talked about, I've been doing this a long time. I wouldn't necessarily say my thoughts have changed. I just don't act on them. Most, you know, the stupid ones, most of them. The thoughts are not necessarily the problems. The thoughts will cause emotions and turmoil and inner stuff, but the actions of those thoughts is where the real problem comes from, right? And so for me, that's what this practice has always been about, is recognizing the thoughts and learning to just see them. And again, you get all the metaphors in Buddhism of, you know, the planes flying overhead and the clouds flying overhead and the train going by. You know, a train's going to keep going by. You just don't have to jump on it. So the thoughts are just flying by. And yeah, that surrender of control. There was a meme I saw years ago I love, and it's somebody sitting on the beach kicking back with a little, you know, umbrella, and they got a little fruity drink. I'm sure it's a, you know, non-alcoholic fruity drink with umbrellas, and it says, relax, nothing is under control. And I found that to be like one of the greatest teachings ever, especially for someone who tries to control things, because that ability to control in and of itself is an illusion and causes tremendous pain and suffering. And again, it does not mean you don't care. It does not mean you look at the terrible, horrific things in the world and you close your eyes to them. There are disgusting things happening in the world, and you should fight to change them, is my opinion. But when you fight to change them, do it from a place of love and compassion, not from a place of hatred and anger. Do it from a place of wanting to bring love and compassion into the world, not more hatred and anger. And not from this self-righteous place of I'm right and everybody's wrong, which is where a lot of people are at. Can we understand? What else? We'll do one more before we close, I think. There's a question here. Oh yeah, Cinda, thanks. Says losing the internet connection is good in a way because it reminds me that I don't need the internet to meditate. What is the purpose of the 3 chimes before meditation? In brief, it's really, to me, the start and stop of meditation, but the 3 chimes represents the triple gem in Buddhism, which is the refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, the Sangha. So the bodhicitta, the Buddha nature that's within all of us, meaning that we all can awaken. The Buddha was just some dude. He figured out why we get angry and miserable, and he taught for 45 years before he died how to stop that. We take refuge in safety and comfort, protection in the teachings of loving kindness and compassion. And then same thing with the community. We take refuge in the community, people that come together. So that's the 3 bells is the triple gem. There's a comment here that says you are powerful over your addiction, speaking as an addict. Somebody commented on that, so I just wanted to share that. Thanks, Andy. And then he added, once I let go of my addiction, there was no more control. What else? We'll do one final question before we close. Yeah.
Who poisoned Buddha?
It was,
Or was it food poisoning?
yeah, so he died of, it was dysentery. Dysentery is food poisoning, is that? Yeah, food poisoning. And it was, I don't know who it was, remember who it was specifically, but it wasn't something that was intentional to, it was food that was poisoned. He knew that. His body was pretty much failing at that time. He was 80 and it was his time. And so he took the offering of food and that was it. He died from it. Yeah. Yeah. What else? One more question. Yeah.
I was hoping maybe you could kind of give me your input on something I'm sitting with where it involves one of the precepts of not gossiping.
Mm-hmm.
A friend in my social group shared he's going through some medical trouble, and the rest of the group keeps trying to suck me into conversations about it without him around. I told him I'm not really comfortable with this. I recuse myself from it as best I can.
Yeah.
And I get it, they're concerned and worried, but other than just saying, I don't know, I'm not comfortable with this, we shouldn't, if you want to monitor me, it's fine, it's fine, it's really private.
Yeah.
He'll fill us in on what's going on with, right? Any advice on how to kind of navigate that without being too, like you're saying, my thought process is better, or I'm looking at it is right, I don't know.
No, I mean, I think sounds pretty beautiful to me. Sounds like you got that one handled. You know, the challenge I think that you're possibly having from the way you asked that question isn't so much how to handle the not gossip part. The challenge to me you're having is with the views of the others towards you about you not gossiping.
Yeah, I get something.
That's their mess, not yours. Abandon the effort to try to control the perception that they have of you, and it won't matter. Right? I shared this the other day, but it was a kid years ago, and he said, Jeff, it was a college kid. He said, Jeff, I'm worried about when I speak, everybody's judging me. And I said, you don't have to worry about that because they are, right? Everybody is judging you all the time for the most part, because that's what we often do all the time. The question is, does it bother you? Right? You ask 10 people their opinion of you, they're going to give you 10 different answers. Are any of them right? It's just their perception. Right. So to close kind of with this thought on the question, for those who aren't familiar with it, there's in Buddhism what we call the 5 precepts: to refrain from lying, killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, and intoxicants. Right. And we recognize that if we lie constantly, if we kill or harm, if we steal, we take what's not ours, if we use intoxicants, if we have sexual misconduct, very often we suffer and we cause suffering in the lives of others. Right. Now, this is not about being a good or bad Buddhist. This is not about judging yourself. I know when I give a talk on the precepts, half the people here are not you are in recovery. But when I do a talk on the precepts, half the people are going home and having their glass of wine and eating their steak, talking about how they just got the teaching on no intoxicants and no harming, right? So this isn't about a judgment thing. This is about recognizing where we're at on our journey in life and if the precepts align with us or not, right? Alex years ago talked about that, and he said the precepts aren't things that you force into your lives. They're things that happen as you continue to cultivate wisdom and compassion, right? So please don't use precepts as judgments about being a good person or a bad person. They're just traffic lights that hopefully keep us safe. I don't know about you, but anytime I lied, stole, used a bunch of stuff, used sexual misconduct or, intoxicants, nothing good happened, right? But your question about gossiping, right? This idea of right speech in the Eightfold Path. Right speech is about refraining from gossip, slander, divisive speech. Anyone in this room slander people? Gossip about people? Use divisive speech? I don't see one hand in the room, right? Thank you, Andy. Always one honest person in the group. So I think you got it down. You don't want to gossip. It's really beautiful to not gossip. I think that's a great practice. I think it's more about this sense of self that says, what do they think about me for not gossiping? No, I never suggest throwing out to them, I don't know if you did this or not, but if you'd be like, yo, I went to this Buddhist thing and they talk about I don't ever suggest that.
Just that this makes me feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I want some, I want you guys to inspire me.
Yeah. I mean, how great would it be if we all told people we didn't want to gossip and didn't like other people talking about us? But often that blatant honesty and truth and like heartfelt truth, honesty is shocking to people. Mm-hmm. Like, what's wrong with you? You don't want to gossip? Last quick story. Years ago when I came back from the monastery and I told my mother that we would eat with like 4,000 monks and nuns and it would be in silence. And, to my nice, sweet 82-year-old Jewish mother. And she said to me, I can't imagine having a meal in silence. And she said, but I guess if you all look the same, if you're all wearing the same thing and you're all eating the same thing, what else is there to talk about? So, yeah. I'm going to close on that. We'll join palms. Any merit gained from this practice be transferred to all beings in all directions. May all beings be at peace. May all be free from suffering. All right, before y'all head out, Dharma Bum host Gene has some announcements for us.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I am today's host, Jean. We opened Dharma Bum Temple 18 years ago to introduce Buddhist practice to those who show up. Those who lead are not nuns, monks, gurus, masters, or teachers, and are not looking for students. They are simply practitioners sharing their interpretation of the practice. Every night we have a different class led by different people from various Buddhist traditions. We have a recovery sangha that meets several times a week for anyone with addiction, and our food redistribution program is every Thursday at 4:30. We have classes and programs every day, and everything we offer here is always free. The full schedule is on our website and also posted in the entryway above the chair rack. We have a lending library. If you see a book you like, feel free to borrow it, then bring it back whenever you are done with it. Please straighten your seat and cushion before you head out. Thank you for being here. Wish you all well and hope to see you all again soon. And there are two other announcements, and as discussed in our meditation today, and I won't put no spots, but looking for silent meditation hosts on Thursday at noon.
Taken.
Everyone is welcome to join the one time a month silent half-day retreat, which is the first Saturday of every month, which is next Saturday. So everyone's welcome to participate in that. I believe it starts at 8 in the morning. So thank you very much for letting me host today.
Thanks, Gene.
Thank you.
Thank you all.